This is Gabrielli. Hi, Gabrielli.
Hi.
Today we wanted to get on and talk to you a little bit about what we call soul speak. So, Gabrielli, I would love to start with just hearing a little bit from you as to where this sort of term and notion came from.
hmm
And then we can, talk more about the sensations and the communication patterns. But I'm curious where it came from.
Such a good question. I know we've been talking about it a lot, and I can't. I really can remember in my 20s not having a connection to my body sensations, the pain in my body, the injuries, the things I was, emotional about or upset about, not really understanding that it was any more than my body just being loud, and sometimes being frustrated because I had a body that would get loud or seemed to have more issues than other people's bodies. And then I went through all these life changing moments, and I really, as I'm saying it to you right now, which I haven't said this in this way, but I think there's a couple things that happened. One is that when my son was born, there was
Mhm.
a way of looking at him and recognizing this body, being, soul, spirit, this divine little creature on earth. I was like, it's all one thing.
Mhm.
And it was the first real like reflection in my mind that maybe I had been putting myself into parts and pieces. Like I'm a body or I'm a spirit or I'm this or I'm that, but not really seeing it as one um, orb of consciousness really, or one experience, even though I think I can logically say that. So many years after that, and from lots of experiences later, I had some of really powerful awarenesses that, wow, when I'm having this experience, this is my soul communicating with me. And those were big at first. It was like, wow, this thing that's happening has so much meaning and it's a part of my soul. And then it was like, fast forward more years, and I thought, well, wait, what if that big thing, good or bad, is happening and it's a communication from my soul? Why isn't everything a communicate? Why isn't every experience of my body like, when is my body ever not my soul? And I think of soul as that timeless river of energy that brings us to life. And it might keep going forever. Some people place karma in the soul, but for me, I was like, yeah, the soul. That's why I'm here. My soul chose to be a body, and if that's true, then it's always happening in succession and together and in combination and in communion. And so I think soul speak, it became really clear to me that soul speak, the speak of the soul, would be the body's communication habits, patterns, symptoms, sensations. Sensations just meaning the things we feel. So I think that's a little cap on it. It just, I've been living this possibility that every sensation is a communication from my soul. And in living that possibility, I've had life changing moments in my consciousness, and they're so meaningful. And I think it makes every bit of sense to me why I want to do this kind of work, because I'm looking for that synapse to go off um, in the work with others, and in ourselves and in life. What does it take to feel that alive? So I
Mhm.
just
So good. It's so good. And it feels so helpful. And I'm just really loving how you're talking about, like, yeah, it's the big moments. And it's also those mundane moments. It's also like what we find boring or what we find kind of frustrating or what we find unbelievably juicy and magical. It's all the things that we're drawn to. And it's all the sensations. As you were saying, your body has been a loud communicator, mine too, in a lot of ways, just feeling a lot of pain and agitation and all the different things, but also just these moments of just elated joy and like
Mhm.
walking in the woods and just being like, oh my gosh, this is feeding me so deeply, and being so drawn to the ocean. And oh my gosh, I used to just like drag my family to the ocean and they're like, come on, I don't want to go to the beach again, and it's like, but this just like lights up that connection to my soul. So, there's so many different ways in which we're all so unique. And one piece that I really, it always just sort of blows me away is even thinking about my experience in my own family of like my brother and I lived this in the same house with the same parents and the same circumstances, and yet his experience of our upbringing and my experience of our upbringing was so different. And like what enlivened him and what traumatized him was so different than what enlivened me or traumatized me. And, I see this so many times with people and their families is, you can have 4 kids in a family and they all go through the same thing. And yet one is like dreadfully like taken down by an experience and they spend their whole lives trying to figure out how to heal that part, whereas another child in that family was like, oh yeah, no big deal, what's your problem, like why are you so stuck on that, and this to me is like what's so fascinating about this soul speak. And instead of, it brings so much more perspective as we talk about like soul speak really bringing the perspective and like that kind of step back and be like, oh, wow, like without me having to judge the fact that I'm a mess about this situation and my brother's like totally fine. It's like, wow, there's something in here that my soul is trying to learn or figure out, or maybe it's part of why I'm here, that I'm really trying to learn this particular lesson where he's not necessarily here to learn that lesson. And that's totally fine. It gives us, it just allows for, the curiosity of like, okay, what's in here for me? What are these sensations telling me? And really, maybe we could just sort of, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'm just thinking as you're talking, and I love what you just shared, that it's just so meaningful to recognize because we see it in classrooms and we see it
Right.
in families, we see it in communities and workplaces, and we see it anywhere where people come together that the very same experiences can be interpreted
So different.
incredibly differently. And I love it too. It's the fascination of me. I use the word creature describing my son because I think of all of us as little creatures, and we're all so unique. And it's such a journey for me and fascinating also to just witness and watch what wisdom comes through each person, where those awarenesses sit, where the awakening moments are, and how we then hold meaning, how we retain those and how we make sense of them in a bigger picture too. But as you were speaking, I was thinking about sensations and how it's everything. It's like, while I brush my teeth, if I stop for a minute and notice what I'm feeling, it could have an awareness in it. It's the moments in between the big moments, and it's the moments of the big moments, and it's years later, where the moments could change even in our mind and in our understanding. And yeah.
Right. And, I just find it so helpful in life to be like, wait a second, I'm going to stop even in this moment that just feels pretty mundane and like, or, I just had a judgment pop in, but you know, or I'm starting to loop on something or getting stressed and like, wait a second, hold on. Like, what if this is actually just a sensation for one thing? And what if it's a communication from my soul? Like, what else is here? Because, what we find over and over and over again is that there is that awareness and that inner wisdom that's coming through. Like, there's a reason our body is communicating through all the different types of sensations we can have. And sensation, we could sort of popcorn some of them, but like it could be anything from like getting goosebumps to having that like aha moment. It could be a pain in the body. There are so many different
Numbness, it can
sensations.
be what people call dissociation, is still
Yeah,
a sensation, a way I might numb out or uh, get tired or glazed over, vortexy. Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah,
What makes
there's
me laugh. Yeah.
so many different sensations, really all of them.
I know what the thing about sensations are is that we're our bodies are so limited really in communication, and I think often because
Totally.
I work with a lot of people who have anxiety, and often uh, they don't realize sometimes that what they're feeling is just a sensation, and it actually could also be excitement, but the
Right.
neural pathway gets so limited because our sensations have very simple our bodies have simple sensations, there's pain or there's thoughts, there's emotions, feelings. It's pretty simple. And so when we interpret and when we give ourselves time to interpret, we can be really surprised that this sensation that has met this one thing for 20 times might meet something completely different the next time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so, so amazing.
I could generously say that we explored in every workshop we did.
Every session, every workshop, every minute of our
Exactly.
lives.
Because we're you know what excites us about the work of the soul and is that it's the work of the human, which is that means it's the work of the spirit, which means it's the work of our mundane and our exalted and our you know agitated lives, you know, and so soul speak, you'll hear us talk about it more, and it is in our foundational teachings and principles and what we value, which honestly what occurs to me to say is that we really value that everyone is unique and that each person's experiences, and that's why we often say in such a funny way, like, if you hate this event that you're at with us, like, it's okay because it just means your soul spoke, you know, and if your soul speaks and leads you someplace else, I feel happy, you know. We're always satisfied that people are listening, and
Right. And that's an awareness in and of itself. It's like, okay, wow, here I have an awareness coming in and this isn't quite resonating, but that's totally fine and good and welcome, you know. And yet also at the same time, you know, just the awarenesses over the years and the healing that's happened as we bring this like lens of the soul speak in and really look for and feel and explore it with people. It's pretty inspiring and profound what we've seen over the years to come through. Thanks, Gabrielli, for sharing in this conversation with me, and thank you all for joining us.